You're just being dramatic again, my mother sighed, barely looking up from her iPad as I clutched my stomach at the sleek marble breakfast bar. Eat your toast, Jordan, and don't make us late. My name is Jordan Hayes, and at 17, I wasn't just battling a mysterious illness. I was battling my own family's disbelief in Phoenix, Arizona, in 2019. Mom, please, I whispered, voice trembling. Something's wrong. The pain? It's worse than yesterday. My vision blurred, black spots flickering like broken pixels. My father slammed his travel mug onto the counter, coffee sloshing. Enough, he barked. Your mother and I are done with these attention-seeking games. You've already ruined 2 mornings this week with your fake emergencies. I tried to stand, determined to prove I wasn't lying, but my knees buckled. I hit the floor hard, the stool clattering beside me. Instead of helping, my mom rolled her eyes. And the Academy Award goes to, she muttered under her breath. Across the counter, my 14-year-old brother Ryan froze with his spoon halfway to his mouth. His expression flickered between concern and confusion. They'd taught him I was a drama queen, a problem child looking for sympathy. This had been my reality for almost a year. It started with fatigue and dizzy spells, then spiraled into sharp abdominal pain and strange bruises. Every new symptom was dismissed. My parents were perfect in the community. Dad, a regional bank manager, Mom, president of the neighborhood association. Their picture-perfect daughter couldn't possibly be sick. Get up, Jordan, Dad ordered. You're going to class. I staggered to my feet, gripping the counter for balance. My body screamed, but I bit my tongue. The last time I'd begged for an ER visit, I'd been grounded for wasting time and money. School was a fog of pain. My once top grades were slipping, fueling their accusations. See? Mom would snap. This is what happens when you waste energy pretending instead of studying. Only my best friend Sienna believed me. She watched me deteriorate, powerless. At lunch, I couldn't even stomach water. Jordan, you're getting worse, she whispered. You need a doctor. They won't take me, I said flatly. They think I'm faking. That's when it hit. A searing pain exploded in my abdomen. I tried to stand, but the world spun violently. My tray crashed to the floor. The last thing I heard was Sienna's voice, panicked, screaming my name, as darkness swallowed me whole. I woke up in the nurse's office, fluorescent lights blurring above me. Mrs. Hanson, our school nurse, hovered with a worried frown. Jordan, I've called your parents, she said firmly. This time, they're going to listen. My parents arrived 20 minutes later, faces tight with irritation, not concern. We're so sorry about this, my mother began, smoothing her blazer, her voice dripping with fake sweetness. Jordan has been... Mrs. Hayes, Mrs. Hanson interrupted sharply. Your daughter's blood pressure is dangerously low. She's showing severe anemia. And these bruises on her arms, she gestured toward my skin, they are not normal. As a mandated reporter, I cannot let her leave without medical attention. My father's jaw clenched. Are you threatening us? No, Mr. Hayes. I'm protecting your daughter. Either you take her to the hospital now, or I call an ambulance. For the first time, I saw a flicker of doubt cross their perfect, controlled faces. Fine, Dad snapped. We'll take her. But when they tell us there's nothing wrong, you'll be hearing from our lawyer. The car ride was silent and tense. Mom muttered under her breath about attention-seeking behavior, while Dad gripped the steering wheel so hard his knuckles turned white. I sat in the back seat, fighting waves of nausea, silently praying someone, anyone, would finally believe me. At the ER, a doctor immediately ordered blood work. My parents perched stiffly in the corner, scrolling on their phones, already rehearsing their angry speeches about wasted time. But when the doctor walked back in, his face wasn't annoyed. It was grim. Mr. and Mrs. Hayes, he said slowly, we need to talk about your daughter's results. Something in his tone made even my father straighten. For the first time in nearly a year, I saw real fear in their eyes. Jordan's blood work shows severe abnormalities, the doctor continued, voice heavy. Her white blood cell count is dangerously high. Platelets are critically low. My mother blinked rapidly. What? What does that mean? The doctor's eyes softened when they met mine. We need to admit her immediately. These results are consistent with leukemia. The word hit like a thunderclap. Leukemia. The thing I'd feared during every sleepless night, every wave of pain. While my parents rolled their eyes, my father shot to his feet, color draining from his face. For once, he had nothing to say. "This is ridiculous," my father snapped, voice sharp enough to cut glass. "Our daughter was fine months ago. She's been inventing symptoms for attention, and now you're feeding into it with these dramatic diagnoses." The doctor's jaw tightened. "Mr. Hayes, I have your daughter's blood work right here. These numbers don't lie." He held up the chart like evidence in a courtroom. "If we don't start treatment immediately, your daughter's life is in danger." My mother's face drained of color. But, she was just being dramatic. You thought wrong," the doctor interrupted, his voice steel. "And frankly, I'm deeply concerned about how long Jordan's symptoms have been dismissed. How long has this been happening?" I swallowed hard. 8 months, I whispered. The doctor's expression darkened. 8 months, he repeated slowly. 8 months of untreated leukemia. He turned to my parents, anger simmering beneath his calm tone. "Do you understand the damage that delay has caused?" For the first time in my life, they were speechless. The perfect image they clung to was splintering right there under the hospital lights. Everything blurred after that. I was admitted to oncology. A kind nurse named Maria helped me settle in, her voice warm and steady. She glanced at my bruised arms and pale face, then said softly, "We're going to take care of you now, sweetheart." My phone buzzed on the tray beside me. "Sienna," Mrs. Hanson told me. "I'm so sorry, Jay. I knew something was wrong." With trembling hands, I typed back, "You believed me." That was enough. My parents sat silently in the corner, looking small and lost like strangers in their own skin. My mother's mascara streaked down her cheeks, and my father, always so commanding, was hunched, deflated. The oncologist, Dr. Matthews, entered with a clipboard. "Jordan, we're starting aggressive chemotherapy tonight," she said gently. "The cancer has progressed significantly due to the delay." My father opened his mouth to speak, but Dr. Matthews lifted a hand. "Mr. Hayes, listen carefully. If Jordan had received care when her symptoms began, this conversation would be very different." Her words landed like a physical blow. Mom broke down sobbing. Dad's face turned ashy. "I tried to tell you," I whispered through tears. "I begged you to believe me." That night, surrounded by the rhythmic beeping of machines, my little brother Ryan tiptoed into the room, his eyes wide with fear. "And me?" he whispered, using my childhood nickname. I managed a faint smile, even as tears slid silently down my cheeks. If you want to know what happens next, the moment my parents finally face the truth, and the fight for my life truly begins, make sure you hit subscribe and turn on notifications. You don't want to miss part 2. "Are you really sick?" Ryan's voice trembled as he stood by the hospital bed, clutching the straps of his worn backpack. "Mom and Dad said..." "They said you were pretending." I patted the edge of the bed and he carefully sat down, his knees brushing the sheets. "They were wrong, Rye," I said softly. "I've been sick for a long time." His lip quivered, then he burst into tears. "I'm sorry, I didn't believe you. They said big sisters do things for attention, and I pulled him into a gentle hug, ignoring the ache from my bruised arms and the IV taped to my skin. "It's not your fault. You're just a kid," I whispered. "They're the adults. They should have known better." Outside the door, I could hear my parents' voices rising as they argued with Dr. Matthews about my treatment plan, still clinging to some shred of control. But their tone was different now, cracked with desperation and guilt. Maria, my favorite nurse, slipped in quietly to check my vitals, gently steering Ryan toward the door. "Visiting hours are almost over, buddy," she said warmly. As she adjusted my IV, she noticed me wiping away tears. "You know what the strongest medicine is?" she asked, tucking the blanket around me. "The truth," she said, smiling faintly. It stings at first, but it's the only thing that really heals. I nodded, because I knew she wasn't just talking about my body. The truth was finally out. It was brutal, but it set me free. No more being called a liar. No more eye rolls when I begged for help. No more pretending. That night, as darkness settled over the oncology ward, I heard my mother crying in the hallway, her sobs sharp and broken. My father's voice, low and cracked, tried to soothe her. How did we not see it? What kind of parents are we? That question would haunt them for years. 3 months into chemotherapy, my life looked nothing like before. The hospital became my world. White walls, steady beeping machines, nurses who felt more like family. My hair fell out, my body weakened. But somehow I felt stronger than ever. Not physically, but in spirit. My parents' transformation was even more dramatic. Mom abandoned PTA meetings to spend every day in my room, bringing my favorite books and whispering apologies between pages. Dad, he changed quietly. The man who once dismissed my pain now flinched at every grimace during treatment. One night I saw him in the hallway, shoulders hunched, voice breaking as he spoke to Dr. Matthews. I failed her, he sobbed. I was supposed to protect her, and instead, Dr. Matthews laid a hand on his shoulder. Her voice was firm but gentle. Then start protecting her now. The best thing you can do now, Dr. Matthews said gently, her hand resting on my father's shoulder, is be there for her. She needs support, not guilt. By then, the truth of my condition had spread through our community, shattering the flawless image my parents had worked so hard to preserve. The couple once praised as model parents now drew whispers in grocery aisles and judgmental glances at church. But amid the wreckage of their reputation, something unexpected happened. My family began to heal. Not just me, all of us. Ryan became my fiercest protector. He'd storm into my hospital room with his messy hair and determined eyes, armed with comic books and cafeteria desserts. Jimmy at school said you were faking it, he announced one day, chin jutting forward like a tiny warrior. So I told him he was ignorant and needed to educate himself about cancer, just like Maria taught me. Maria, my favorite nurse, had become more than medical staff. She was family in every way that mattered. She sat by my bed through the worst nights, when nausea racked my body and fear gnawed at my mind. You're the strongest person in this hospital, she'd whisper, smoothing my blanket. And don't you dare forget it. Then there was Sienna. Loyal, relentless Sienna, who brought normalcy in the form of gossip and algebra homework. She didn't just believe me, she made everyone else believe too. She started a fundraiser at school for cancer research and wore a bald cap when my hair began to fall out. Solidarity, she said with a grin that made the hospital room feel a little less cold. 6 months into treatment, Dr. Matthews called for a family meeting. My parents sat stiffly in the consultation room, gripping each other's hands so tightly their knuckles were white. They'd grown to dread these updates, knowing the weight of their denial hung heavy in every conversation. But this time, Dr. Matthews was smiling. Jordan is responding well to treatment, she announced. The cancer cells are decreasing. It's still a long road ahead, but she's fighting hard. My mother broke down, sobbing, happy tears this time. My father squeezed my hand so tightly it hurt, his voice lost somewhere between relief and shame. Then Dr. Matthews' tone shifted, firm but kind. I strongly recommend family counseling. What happened before Jordan's diagnosis needs to be addressed. For the first time, my parents didn't argue or deflect. They nodded, surrendering the illusion of perfection that had cost us so much. The counseling was brutal, peeling back years of denial and misplaced pride, but slowly we began to stitch something real from the ruins. 1 year after my diagnosis, I sat in Dr. Matthews' office for a routine checkup, bracing for the verdict. My hair was finally growing back in soft, uneven patches, and my latest blood work showed something I hadn't dared to hope for: progress. You know, Dr. Matthews said as she flipped through my chart, her voice softer than usual, when you first came in, I was furious at your parents. I've seen neglect before, but rarely from people who clearly loved their child. They just cared about the wrong things. I nodded slowly, understanding every word. They've changed, I whispered. We all have. That evening, my family crowded into my hospital room for a small celebration of my clean scan. Ryan handed me a handmade card, glitter clinging to his fingers. For the strongest sister in the world, it read in crooked letters. Mom walked in carrying a thermos of real homemade soup, her way of saying she'd stop pretending that everything was fine when it wasn't. Dad sat quietly in the corner, but his eyes never left me. He looked like a man terrified of blinking and finding me gone. I'm sorry, he said suddenly, his voice breaking like glass. We should have believed you. We should have listened. I reached across the blanket for his hand. I know, I said softly, but you're listening now. Sometimes the hardest truths are the ones that save us. Cancer had shattered the glossy image my parents clung to, but in the rubble, something real had started to grow. We weren't perfect anymore. We were better. We were honest. Maria popped her head in with her usual warm smile. Look at you all, she teased gently. Now that's what healing looks like. And she was right. We were healing, not just my body, but everything we'd broken inside our family by pretending. The truth had set us free, even if the cost had been higher than we ever imagined. For the first time in months, I let myself believe that maybe, just maybe, the worst was behind us. I want to hear from you. If you've made it this far in my story, you know how close I came to losing everything. Not just my health, but my family, my trust, and even my voice. For months, no one believed me. I was called dramatic, attention-seeking, even a liar. But the truth? It was louder than all there. Now, I want to ask you something. What would you have done in my place? Would you have kept fighting to be heard? Or maybe you've been there yourself, begging someone to believe your pain, your truth? If you have, share it in the comments. I promise, your story matters. I want to read every single one because no one should ever feel invisible the way I did. And if you're watching this because you love someone who's struggling, please, believe them. Listen before you judge. Sometimes the strongest thing you can do for someone isn't fixing everything. It's simply saying, I hear you. That can change a life. It saved mine. If this story touched you, hit subscribe and turn on notifications, because I'm not done yet. The fight didn't end with one diagnosis. It was only the beginning of a journey that tested my strength, my faith, and my family in ways you won't believe. I want you with me for every step, because I know there's someone out there who needs hope right now, and maybe my story can give it to them. Leave a comment for me below. Tell me your advice, your encouragement, or just a few words to remind me why we keep fighting. And if you take anything from this, let it be this. Never let anyone silence your truth.